Hello everyone. This is our third lecture on the CPM critical path method. And in our previous lectures, we have discussed what the CPM is, we have discussed what the project network planning is, and we even have discussed the steps that are involved in the network planning. And if you haven't gone through the previous lectures, you won't be able to understand this part of the lecture. So the link for the previous lectures is given in the description box. You can watch from there. So today we are going to discuss the rules for construction of the project network. There are different rules that you need to remember while constructing the project network diagram. And the first and the foremost rule is that there should be single arrow for every activity. Here I have shown you two examples, and in the first example you can see that the same activity is being shown with two different arrows, right? So here activity A is with different one arrow and activity A again with another arrow. So as per the rule, every activity should have only one single arrow, right? So as per the rule, this particular diagram is incorrect. And in our second case, you can see that here two activities are being given, activity A and activity B. And both these activities are being shown with different arrows, right? Here activity A suppose is starting at 1 and it's ending at 2, and activity B is starting at 2 node and it's ending at 3. So you just can't show the same activity by two arrows. So as per the rule, first example is incorrect and second example is correct. Our second rule says that every activity should have a start and end node. Here I have mentioned the three examples, and as far as our first example is concerned, you can see that this activity, some activity is going on here, and this particular activity does have a start node, but its end node is missing. So this is an incorrect way to draw a project network, and this is an incorrect diagram. And second example here, that you can see that some activity is going on, but it does have an end node, but its starting node is missing. So this example is also incorrect. And our third example here, you can easily now confirm that this one is correct diagram just because it does have a start node and it does have an end node. For example, this is an activity A or suppose B or C, whatever, and this is node 1 and this is node 2. So this activity B or C, whatever, is starting at node 1 and it's ending at node 2, right? So as per the rule, the activity should have a one start and one end node. This one is correct. Our third rule says that project should have only one start and only one end node. Here three examples are given, and as far as our first example is concerned, you can see that here two activities are going on, right? But these two activities have different start nodes. Here this activity does have two start nodes, and both these activities are ending at only one node. But as per the rule, the project should have only one start node and only one node end node. So this example is incorrect. And as far as our second example is concerned, you can see here the two activities are going on, and they both have the same one common. They share a common node, like start node, and both these activities are ending at two different nodes. So as per the rule, this also is incorrect because an activity should have only one start node and only one end node. Now, as far as the third example is concerned, we have discussed a lot in last two lectures, like about the CPM, about the project network diagram. You can now easily, say and identify the correct project network diagram. And as far as this example is concerned, here the activities are, flowing in one direction only. And this particular project activity, it does have one start node and it's ending at only one node, right? Suppose it is starting at node 1 and it's ending at node 5. So this particular example, as far as the rule is concerned, is a correct way of constructing a project network diagram. Now our next rule says that there should be no looping in the network. Now as far as this rule is concerned, you can see that an event or an activity, suppose it's starting from here and it moves until here, right? And it goes down again. And see, look at here, it goes back up to here, right? So in this way, a loop is being formed, and looping is not allowed in any project network diagram. You have to remember that every activity, whatsoever activity is going on, it must flow in only one direction. And here it's going back towards the node 2, suppose. So this way a loop is being created, and this is the wrong way to draw the network diagram. Rule number 5 says that there should be no tangling in the network. Now you know what the project network diagram is, and here in this example you can see only this part of the diagram can be set as the correct part, right? Where there is one start node and ending at this node. Suppose this whole project activity is starting at node 1, suppose, and ending at node 5. But if you look at here, the activity F, the mentioned activity F is starting from this node and it's ending at this node, right? So this way it's being left loose, right? So you can't have just two end nodes in an activity. So this is also a wrong way to draw the project network diagram. If there is only one end, then it is correct. But in this particular example, you have two end nodes. Here, F is ending at here, and the whole project seems to be end at this node. So this is an incorrect way of constructing a project network diagram. Our next rule says that project should flow in one direction. Generally we start making the network diagrams from the left hand side, right? And it flows towards the right hand side. Over here you can see in the first example, you can see that the arrows are shown in both the directions, right? This one is, pointing towards the left hand side, and these two arrows are pointing towards the right hand side. So this is an incorrect diagram because the arrow should flow in only one direction. And as far as second example is concerned, here the arrows are just flowing in only one direction. So this is the correct way of drawing the project network diagram. Our next rule says that Fulkerson's rule. Fulkerson's rule says that the number or the sequencing of the number, it should start from the lowest, right? You don't have to give the number to any node, like you have to start with the lowest. For example, here in this first example I have started like 3, 2 and 1. This is not the correct way of giving the number to the nodes. There should be a proper sequence. You always have to start from the lowest number. Here I have started in second example, I have started with 1, then 2, then 3. You just can't start the activity from node 3 and ending at node 1. This is an incorrect, a way of following the project network diagram. So Fulkerson's rule says the numbering should be in a proper sequence, right? Whether you give the digit, or whether you write the digits, whether you write the alphabets like A, B, C, then you have to follow the sequence. You can't just write B, D, then E or F. You just have to follow the sequence. This is what the Fulkerson's rule says. Now our next rule is that the two activities should not have a common start and end node. So here I also have given the two examples. You can see that here node 1, okay, activity A and activity B is starting at node 1 and both activities are ending at node 2. And then the C activity is starting at 2 and ending at 3, right? As per the rule, two activities should not have a common start, and here two activities do have a common start and do have a common end, right? So this is an incorrect. Now look at this table first. Here I have mentioned the activities and I have mentioned the predecessors. Here activities, suppose A, B and C, and A doesn't have any predecessor, B doesn't have any predecessor, and C does have A and B as predecessors, right? So now how we are going to construct it? Here if you can see that activity A and B, they start at node 1, and as they don't have any predecessors behind, so they start at 1, and activity C is starting at node 2 because it does have the predecessors A and B as far as this table is concerned, right? C has A, B as predecessors, so C activity is starting at 2 because it has A and B as its predecessors. So C is ending at, it is completing at node 3. Now, as far as the rule is concerned, this is also an incorrect way of making a diagram. Though it does follow the criteria, whatever is given in the table, but as far as the rule is concerned, this is an incorrect way of making or constructing a project network diagram. Now, how to make this diagram? If we can see that activity, as far as this example is concerned, you can see that here activity A and B, they both are starting from node 1, right? And here they don't end at just a common node, but A is ending at 2 and B is ending at 3. Here the both activities are starting from a common node but ending at two different nodes. As per the rule we have discussed before also, this is also incorrect, right? But here you can see I have just draw a dotted line, and this is called as the dummy line, right? Whenever you draw a dummy line, you just are saying that no work is going on between 2 and 3, right? So here, if when you draw a dummy line, you just can continue the whole network or diagram. Here, if I have pointed towards the 3, the dummy line is pointing towards the 3. Then from 3, another activity is being started at 3 and it's ending at 4. This way, you can complete the whole project network by showing the dummy activity line, right? So, because no activity is being done there, so you can draw a dummy activity line just to make the whole project complete. Here in this case, in this second example, both the criteria will be fulfilled. Though they have a common starting node, as far as the previous rule it is incorrect, and they do not have a predecessor, and they are not, ending at the same node because the whole activity is ending at only one node. So dummy activities can be used when there are more than two activities having a common start node but ending at two different nodes. This way you can complete your project network diagram having a common start node but activities ending at two different nodes, and only dummy line activity can save your project network from being incorrect. So these were all the rules, and you have to remember all the rules. Only then you will be able to construct a correct project network diagram. Now we'll just discuss, not discuss, because we already have discussed a lot about CPM. I will just tell you briefly the advantages of the CPM. It helps in selecting, monitoring, and controlling the projects. And here the manager can determine the actual dates for each activity, and activity and outcomes can be shown as network. We all have discussed these things in our previous lectures as well. And it evaluates which activity can run parallel, and even it can define the multiple and equally critical paths. Next, it determines the project direction as well, as I already discussed, and its effective management procedures in educational institutions. It streamlined all aspects of an educational project process. And as far as the disadvantages of the CPM is concerned, I'll just read out briefly. First, it's ineffective and difficult to manage, and this is just for the beginners who are new to this critical path method or project network planning. So they may feel difficulty while handling it. Second, it requires a software to monitor if the project is too bulky. So you have to make sure that the project is not too bulky. So this software is very effective if you have the short projects. And next, it cannot handle the sudden change. You just can't make sudden change in the project. And identifying and determining critical path is difficult, which is the longest path in the network planning, which is very difficult to identify it. Next is it's time consuming. Yes, as far as the project is concerned, this seems a very time consuming project. And next is that it cannot form and control the schedules. So these were all the advantages and the disadvantages of the CPM. I'll see you next week with my new video lecture. Till then, have a great time and stay home and stay safe. And yes, I wish you all a very happy Ramadan.